Alright, hey, what's up everybody? We're gonna do the tour today. We got this room full of snow skates, so I'm gonna talk about all of these different boards and what's special or what's good about the different ones, and why I set them up the different ways that I have them set up, some stuff like that. So yeah, we're gonna start with this one. This is actually the top deck on this board. Is the first top deck I ever used for a snow skate, and I was working at Powder Mountain, was living at Powder Mountain, and I had built this snow skate, and it had a different sub deck at the time. Anyway, I built this board, and I don't know how or why, what I was thinking, because I really loved that skateboard. I liked riding it as a skateboard. But my first snow skate, it had wooden trucks, and I drilled all the way through the snowboard on the bottom. And eventually I got the courage to cut the sides and trim the shape off. And once I did that, it rode so well. It rode better than any snow skate that I had ever ridden at that time. And ever since, I've just been hooked on putting these things together. So this board was part of that initial story. It was the guy, I forget his name, who runs the split board shop, who gave me the courage to trim the sides off and try riding it just on the base edge. So this board is kind of like a backyard board for me now. I'd ride it with no metal edge. I prefer it like that. Still going. First snow skate I ever made. Did this electricity kind of like engraving on the top with one of my roommates where I was living at Powder Mountain. Pretty sweet board. It's been through some miles. So this board is the LibTech deck, and I will say, you know, right now I see this skateboard deck online for $300. The LibTech Snowskate top deck. They're selling just this top deck for $300. And I will say though, that like, you're not gonna find a better top deck for riding a snow skate. You won't. It's got the sidewall like a snowboard, and it's just a super solid thing. I was comparing it to the shape of this Pal Peralta Sidewinder, the Jim Duran signature deck. It's carbon fiber and pretty water resistant, and it's stretched out, and it's got a similar shape to this LibTech, maybe an alternative. But if you look close, you can kind of see the LibTech's got about a half-inch more width on it, a little bit more length. That LibTech deck is just super solid. It's $300, but you're never gonna get a better. Probably you're not gonna get a better snow skate top deck than that. Anyway, so that's the top deck. This board is got the Mekshift Snowskate trucks. Thomas at Fabin 801 helped me do these. He did the laser cutting in his shop, and then I did the metal bending. I don't have them on a lot of my boards because I've been bending them out of shape. When I land really hard, I bend them out of shape. And then this sub deck is a K2 Ultra, I think was the one that like lights up when you hit a bump, the old one. But I put metal edges on it after reshaping it a bunch of times. Ended up getting a lit. I don't know, I'm happy with the width. Pretty cool. Even with this all messed up right here, when I put that metal edge on, it's just like pretty solid. I run it like that. So there's that one. So this board is really good for like backyard. This board is, I use it in the backyard too, but this is good for like high speed, the shape. This is one of the very first boards I built as well. It's old Rosignol ski with a junk, just total junk parts, but it turns out that this board rides so killer. I rode this at Powder Mountain a lot, and I really fell in love with the feel of having such a little surface area that you're put your back foot's just right on top of this little teeny surface area. And I got addicted to that feeling riding this board at Powder Mountain. And you know, I always like to see the snow skates have the action to where you can pop up the tail like that. It's like important to me. Some boards I've built, I have to bend down to pick them up, and I prefer it not to be like that. So here's this one. You know, it kind of has it, but it's got a little bit of a long tail. It's a 150 centimeter ski on the bottom of this. I did a video on this exact setup just recently called Snow Skate Speed Lap. Talk about this board a bit. It's got that Pal Peralta deck I was comparing to the LibTech deck. This board is super fast. I had it mounted with this LibTech deck on the Solomon ski here, and I was riding it at Brighton years ago, and I was just like going pretty fast. Really pretty cool. This next one here has got the Solomon snowboard, and earlier on when I was making snow skates, when I was first starting, I tried to cut a different shape sub deck every time I would cut one. So I did some shapes that were kind of similar to this. You know, I'd play around with like making it here or there, the different points of width or whatever. This shape is a little different than I would cut a shape anymore. But this has become kind of like another backyard board for me. I never got metal edges. I'm probably never gonna put metal edges on it. The shape is good. It was resort rideable for me. Pretty cool board. The top deck is a street plant deck. It's just pretty cool. Happiness machine, it says on the bottom. Street plant. Pretty cool. This one has an atomic snowboard for the bottom deck, and I think, you know, this board, if I was gonna do more work on it, I'd maybe just cut a fresh edge on it, do a little bit of a trim. It's just, if it had a little less, you'd feel the edges a little better. If you ride it in deep snow, then the edges feel pretty good, but on a hard pack, you kind of like wish it was trimmed just a little more. And then it's gotten messed up right here, so I'm just rocking it in the backyard for now. Street plant deck on top as well, a little bit fatter one. This one, the sub deck, I got from Jamie. If you guys know Jamieson at Brian Head, Jamie's like, hey, you won't think you can use this deck? And it had pretty good crack in it. This snap it up. You can see right here, this crack was going all the way out the whole rest of the board. And I was like, yeah, I think I can do something with that. So Jamieson gave me this deck, this snowboard deck, and I cut it. And even with this mess up cut right here, this thing was pretty sweet to ride. I did one video of the barefoot snow skating on it. It's got the foam grip, so that feels pretty good barefoot. It was a lot of fun. It's got good action in the tail, you know, like I was saying, I like them to pop up. This thing, I'll just give it a good pop. It'll kind of pop up. It's got the makeshift trucks on it as well, so I must have never landed too hard. They not too bent out of. They don't look bent out of shape at all. These trucks, I kind of stopped using them because I was bending them out of shape every time. This board, I love this board. This is top deck is a life board that's 12 inches fat, I think it is. Needs a little work on the grip, but pretty good. Yeah, so this board, sorry, I just want to change that song real quick. If you look at how much distance it has, that you when you're like looking at it, you see how that's like a fat amount. That's like, you can tell that that's gonna make this edge feel sensitive and strong. If it was just a little bit more wide, then it wouldn't feel as strong as this feels. So to get this kind of cut on a sub deck, if you were gonna try to copy this kind of a cut for doing your own DIY sub deck out of a snowboard, it's really easy to mark the lines that you want to cut. How I did it was I just like grab a square, and I think about 2.5 inches I'm taking off each side. So if you run the square along the side, it'll hold you right at 2.5 inches, and then you're copying the radius of that snowboard's edge, and you're putting that same exact radius on just 2.5 inches skinnier about. Anyway, that's a good way to cut the sub deck. And here we got one where I got to where I kind of like have my shapes down. So I've gotten to where I think my theory is you want your smallest width of your sub deck to be right about here at the tail, or right near where your last contact point is, is like your least wide spot, and then you just taper it up to as wide as you want it to be. And you can grab, a different snowboard or something. You grab a snowboard deck, and you can kind of help draw that line off of another snowboard. And when you make it taper out to the front, it kind of helps you make this be your smallest width point ish. And anyway, there's some theories about how you might draw your own shape. This board right here is one of my newer builds. It actually has not been ridden yet. I forgot to drill the hole for the leash, so I took it up to the resort to ride it, and I didn't have a leash hole on it yet. And needs to get the edges installed still too. I am gonna do the metal edges on this one. So this one's got metal edges installed, and I kind of like filed them to be level. I was ashamed of myself because I was building this for Pat Fava, and I was like ashamed to hand it off to him because I kind of like did razor knife work to make this smooth. But when I come back and look at it, I feel like this is rideable, and I tried to contact him and let him know that this is for him. But and it's super light too somehow, this zip-zogger crooked deck with this. Cool. Pat, if anybody knows how to tell Pat, dude, I got this, here's your board, but I gave one to Joey, so, and it was zip-zogger crooked deck with a different design on it, but this one's for Pat. This one's got the LibTech 50-inch POW skid on it. I did a video on this one as well, so I'll kind of just brush past that one, show a link to the video or something. This one has never been ridden again, but it's like one of my newer builds. Got the shape down. I think this is going to be spectacular. I think it's going to ollie, ride powder, ride park, whatever. I have ridden this one right here. Rides great. It's going to get metal edges. It's going to be on my main lineup of boards. This one has the ski blade for the sub deck, and this ski blade's super stiff. But if out of all the boards I have, including any snowboard, like if I was going East Coast expecting really icy conditions, I would ride this board over any other Snowskate, over any snowboard for like icy conditions. This thing is just gonna grab on that small surface area. It's super stiff, and I'd be more comfortable on an ice patch on this board than any other. This board we're not really going to talk about. There's some top secret stuff going on there. Maybe later, maybe another day we'll talk about what's going on with that. But it does have the ski blade sub deck, and it's similar to this. Here's a street plant deck with head ski blade. I bought a bunch of these head ski blades because I really like them for a sub deck. This one, the penny board, pretty killer. I got a video of that. This was a new build, just kind of replicating some of what I've done before to get a certain ride that's, you know, really capable on its edges and comfortable going fast. This might be what you would want to ride if you're trying to keep up with guys on a snowboard. Alright, now we got this one right here. These 3 decks right here, I just did 6 decks out of these square blanks from Woodshop Skates. Thank you, Woodshop. These were so much fun to work with. I can't recommend this enough. Like, if you guys want to do a snow skate or if you want to do a skateboard, this was pretty fun to do. I shaped these 3 right here. I did 6, but I have these 3 with me right now. This sub deck on the bottom here is a Burton chopper, I think they call it. Yeah, pretty fitting for a chopper snow skate, huh? The Burton chopper. This sub deck feels so solid. This top deck is rad too. Pretty sweet. So this one, I got the Hovland Buckshot as the sub deck on this one. I have it mounted really far back into the tail because I was trying to film a kickflip on it. Got that video done. Actually, took longer than it should have. This one I'm really excited about riding this, but I haven't ridden it yet. It's a Burton. I think it's the El Diablo is the name of the sub deck. I've gotten to where I really prefer to use the wood core for the sub deck. So I'm really excited about this one, and all my newer boards that are going to be ridden at the resorts, they're all getting metal edges installed. So this will get metal edges, and these 2 will be part of my front lineup of new boards. These 2, I bought a pair of racing skis, kids racing skis. So these 2 are nearly the same, but as you can see, there's a little bit of a difference in the length of the tail. So just that little bit of a difference, like this is going to be easier to ollie and keep on your feet in the air than this, in my opinion. I would like, and this might be a little bit more comfortable to rail your turn on, having that little bit extra tail. Just that little bit of difference make a difference. So this right here is the Arctec. I bought a bunch of these to give away for like Christmas presents for my nieces and nephews. You can tell this one's pretty much brand new, still got plastic on it, never been ridden. But I've played with the pieces a bit, and this board's really solid. If you want to buy one of these to check out snow skating as a cheap way to look into it, it's a great option. It's a durable board until you start trying to play with the pieces, and then it's like you're gonna strip out screws if you try reusing these trucks a bunch and stuff. And if you're gonna buy this board, I would even go just like replace these trucks right away. Here's the same sub deck on a street plant board here, but I replaced the trucks, and this is a bit more solid, and now I have something where I can start exchanging all the pieces, and things aren't gonna fall apart. Alright, we got this one right here. This little kid's atomic ski that ended up working really good. You can see it's starting to blow out after I rode the heck out of it, like over and over. I did a bunch of videos on this one, and it's kind of starting to blow out. I'll redo it with some Healy coils in a little bit different spot. But this board was so much fun to ride. It can do nose presses. These little skis are good on hard pack. Some of the funnest boards to ride on hard pack. But you know, obviously it's got its limitations. You can see how much distance this has of skateboard. You can see like how much thin the subdeck is with extra width on the side with the top deck. These edges are very sensitive and feel really powerful. It's a cool setup. I need to redo this with some Healy coils, a little bit different spot, and this thing's ready to go again. This board, you can take a quick peek at this. I'm not really going to talk about what's going on here at this time. This board is just pretty cool. This board is so cool. It's one of my favorite things I ever did. But really, honestly, you know, it might be one of the more fragile builds I've done. I don't know how fragile it might be. I was actually surprised when I was doing some butters on the tail how solid it felt. Anyway, I did this for the novelty of it. You can tell looking at the amount of deck you can see right here. These edges do not feel the most powerful. It would work better if you had some more width on your top deck. But it does work, and it is a novelty, and it's super rad, super fun. This thing makes me smile. Did the video with it, and that was one of the coolest things I think I've done. Really fun. So here, you know, I'm gonna set my camera down or prop it up so I can kind of show you guys. Like, this is rad looking, right? Super rad looking. I used a ski kind of like this before on this board that you may have seen me ride. I rode the heck out of this board, put a lot of miles on this sub deck. It's got a jet ski hole on it, taken apart right now. But so I saw the same looking ski, right? And I was thinking, oh, it's a little smaller. I like that size. Try run it. But I just want you guys to know, you know, when you're doing your DIY stuff, it's not always a guarantee. You might think one ski that's the same ski as that, like, I don't know why that one worked and this one won't, but my point is it's a gamble. If you want something solid, you want to try snow skating and you just want to do it, you might just, you know, buy a Hovland, buy a Boyd Hill, buy a Opala, buy somebody's one that they've done the work to know that it's just going to be solid already. Like, I was able to use this same ski for miles and miles and miles, and this one that it's just one size smaller, but broke before I even got to ride this snow skate. So just take that into consideration when you're trying to build your own board. You know, maybe you don't even want to do it. For me, I feel like I've gotten to where I'm building a lot of boards that aren't for sale and have a ride that I like, and something that you couldn't buy, and something that I prefer over what you could buy. But these are just things to consider. Here's this board. You know, I did such a good job on this board. I felt like it such a cool top deck, such a cool snow skate. And I was doing kick flips. I was trying to land the kick flip off a box that Brian had on this. You can tell it's got a pretty good amount of deck. You know, like I was saying, that's what I feel like makes you feel your edges are powerful, when you have that amount of overhang where you can really rip onto your edges. So I was running this board and it was great. I did a good job installing the metal edges. I felt like I did really good installing these edges. Got metal edges on it, but I need to do some work to repair this board. You can tell right there. So this is part of why I've gotten to where I prefer the wood core. These other types of cores don't take water damage, but you'll break them still. This is just a Hovland flat deck, you know, kind of like an Ambition Snowskate. And I put this in the lineup to just talk about it a little bit. These, to me, are not easy. I'm just getting to where I can kind of control how to steer on it. And it's probably just like practice that I haven't spent, or I'm just not good at it. Anyway, I respect this a lot. I respect, because guys are doing such killer tricks on this, and I can't do it. So I respect it. This snow skate is one of my favorites for sure. It's got this huge life top deck, 12 inches fat. The K2 on the bottom. I need to put the metal edges on this. This thing is so rad. I think you can just look at it and see what that's about. This is a powder hog. This penny board I've had mounted with a bunch of different subdecks. The ski that's on it right now is so flexible. That thing just, as soon as you put your tail, it's been bending. As soon as you put your weight on that tail, it's automatic. It's really hard to like get it to stay flat almost. It's the surfiest setup I have ever ridden, just with that tail so sucked back into the ski and how flexible that is when you stand on it. This thing is just so surfy, it's ridiculous. This board here, at the end of last season, this was my everyday rider. I really liked, you can see how much deck shows on the side of this sub deck. That top deck you can see, it's kind of like, to me, a visual indication of how hard you're going to be able to lean into these edges. So you can see there's a good amount of width left on the sides of this sub deck, and this thing you can really rip into those edges. I kind of broke the tail down a little bit, so this jet ski hole's not firing as hard as it used to, but this board's still very much rideable. Jet ski hole still does work some, not as good as it used to, and this is another one of those Jim Durand signature decks. You can see how weathered this one is. I've been riding this as a snow skate deck for like 4 years, and this thing's just solid still. And before that, I rode it as a skateboard. So these Pal Peralta flight decks are really good. This is a cool one. This is a Alva deck, the fish deck. I did think this is 12 inches fat too. It's got the yoga mat grip. Really like the crab grab spikes, and I think this is Dakine spikes, crab grab spikes, the Dakine Pow Surf grip. That's what all these riser grips are, is the Dakine Pow Surf grip. Some of them I've used are like surf grip, but this board is action. I don't really ride it too much because we haven't had this snow. I really like a couple of feet before I bust this out. Yeah, it's got metal edges installed. It's huge. It's heavy, but it will give you more than enough float to make up for the weight of itself. And that's a fun one. And it will ollie and everything. It's got the tail put in a great spot to, like, you really pop that board up. And this is my newest pride and joy here. I did an Instagram post just recently talking about this board. It's from Black Shop, or sorry, blacksmith. Blacksmith skateboards out of Italy. These guys are building some pretty rad boards. It's got, I can't remember how many layers of carbon fiber, and then you know, 5 plies of maple, so it's they call it ultralight. I put epoxy over the carbon fiber so you kind of see it through. I really like this setup. You know, I tried to make it as sweet as I could, but one thing I've realized is I really love using the yoga mat that has that foam that sinks a little bit. So I got to add a little bit of pieces of that here and there because I miss it. Like, without any of it on here, I'm like, oh, I need some of that. This board is rad. I got the tall Harfang trucks on it with the risers. I'm pretty excited about this. Still need to get the metal edges installed on this one, but that's gonna happen, and this will be in our front lineup of new boards available for the team. So there you guys have it. That's the tour of what I have with me at this time, a portion of the collection you guys got to see today. Shoot, there was more I was gonna say, but if you guys have questions, throw them out, and you don't be afraid to share with your friends and stuff. And you know the thing, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys again.